Good afternoon. My name is John Jungman. I'm a superintendent of schools for Springfield Public Schools. And at this time, I would like to ask you to continue filling your seats. Lunch will be served in just a few minutes. Our music today is provided by the Glendale High School Instrumental Ensemble under the direction of Mr. Andy Johnston. Please join me in thanking them for their performance. You'll hear more from them in just a little bit. We are glad to have you here and have taken the time out of your busy day to join us for the 9th Annual Springfield Public Schools Hall of Fame Luncheon. Today, we will be honoring the class of 2018, Mr. Homer Boyd, Miss Kim Crosby, and Dr. Tom Prater. Each of these alumni have built a life full of successes on a foundation that includes Springfield Public Schools. This event would not be possible without the generosity of our sponsors, and I'd like to take a moment to thank them before we get started with the honorees. Our Platinum and Gold sponsors, please wait to applaud till we get all of them done, but our Platinum and Gold sponsors, thank you for our presenting sponsor, 417 Magazine, Foundation for Springfield Public Schools, AdSmith Marketing and Advertising, KY3, Maddox New Prater, Esther Lee Snyder and Associates, the Community Foundation of the Ozarks, Positronic, and Ozarks Coca-Cola Dr. Pepper Bottling Company. We are so grateful for all of their support. Please give them a hand. The Foundation for Springfield Public Schools, led by Executive Director Natalie Murdoch, works every day to support the mission of Springfield Public Schools. Thanks to its donors, they place resources directly into our classrooms, allowing teachers to provide learning experiences for students that impact their life today as well as in the future. While your meals are being served, we'd like to show you a brief video highlighting the Foundation's work, followed by remarks from Foundation President, Mr. Mark Mayer. Please train your eye to the video, enjoy your lunch, and Mark will be with you in just 1 second.
Foundation for Springfield Public Schools is an organization that helps to raise money. That money is then allocated to the classrooms for special projects for schools and teachers.
It was founded in 1990 by a group of volunteers who identified a gap that existed in the funding sources for the Springfield Public School system.
Foundation is a great support mechanism for our kids and our teachers. It provides resources for a number of different things, from our back-to-school grants that really fill gaps for our classrooms to scholarships for our kids. The Foundation is a conduit to help us find success for our students.
The Foundation looks at the grants that come in for the entire district, and if they think it's a good idea, they will fund the project so that we actually have the money to do some of these really neat things with the kids.
Since its inception, the Foundation has funded over $17 million in grants and scholarships, including $1 million last year. I think a big highlight is our back-to-school program.
On the back-to-school program, we raised $232,000. And that provided lots of requests to be done for the teachers and for the principals.
And that's a really neat way for the community to get involved, build excitement for the coming school year, and help make sure that teachers start out the year with the resources they need to have a successful classroom experience.
I could not have done any of the special projects that I've done with the kids over the last several years without the Foundation.
The Foundation has provided my students with print and digital resources to keep my library collection current, engaging, and relevant for my students. It fills in those gaps that, normal budgets don't allow.
Over the years, we have written many Foundation grants, and they have covered the cost of all sorts of things such as field trips, playground equipment, garden equipment, items that would not have been possible to purchase with our regular school budget.
They not only fill gaps, but they really inspire innovation in our classroom. Because a bigger thing than just the resources that the Foundation provides is the confidence and the support for a teacher's perspective and from a kid's perspective, that someone outside of our school cares enough to provide money and resources for me. And that means so much to our kids and our teachers.
I think it's such an important mission, and the reason personally I became involved is that I think educational opportunity is the cornerstone of any great society. It's the foundation of growth for kids, and if we invest in education, it's going to pay off in dividends for everybody in the community later.
It's important to know that the foundation cannot be successful without people helping. We need to give so that the foundation can do their job.
It's an investment in our community, it's an investment in our children. Even if you don't have children in the school system, by providing these quality educational opportunities, you are making our community a better place to live for yourselves, for everyone in the school system, and for everyone in our community.
Good afternoon. The Foundation for Springfield Public Schools is proud to sponsor this wonderful event, which recognizes the achievements of our outstanding alumni. In our video, you can see the great work that is happening through the support of your Public Schools Foundation. Today, our foundation manages nearly 150 funds totaling more than $5 million, which benefit our schools in a variety of ways. Just last month, we awarded over $240,000 to schools across the district through our Back to School program. In addition to our grants and scholarships, we work regularly with alumni to keep them connected with the elementary, middle, and high schools that have played a role in who they are today. I'd like to invite any graduate of Springfield Public Schools to learn more about the foundation and find out how you can update your information through our alumni program by visiting our website. On behalf of the Foundation for Springfield Public Schools, I congratulate each inductee today and thank you for your contributions to the world. Please enjoy your lunch and the musical talents of the Glendale High School Instrumental Ensemble.
My hope as superintendent is that we are preparing students who, after graduating from SPS, will obtain personal success as well as make a positive impact on the communities where they live. Today, it's a pleasure to honor 3 outstanding alumni who have done just that. I have no doubt by the end of the day, you will be impressed with the dedication of their passions. If I had to find one word to sum up all 3 inductees, the word would be performers. 2 of our inductees chose the stage for their performances, sometimes locally, sometimes overseas in war zones, and sometimes on Broadway. Both shared their talents with audiences large and small. The 3rd inductee uses the more intimate setting of an operating room for his performances. While there may be less applause by the attendees, an appreciation for a job well done is nevertheless. All 3 are deserving of the recognition they are receiving today and so much more. Please give them a hand as we start this ceremony. We are also pleased to have with us today some individuals who know a little bit about what these inductees are feeling like right now. Our past Hall of Fame inductees, please stand when I call your name. Help me welcome Hall of Fame class of 2012, representing Kickapoo High School, Charles Armstrong. And Hall of Fame class of 2013, or actually 2014, representing Glendale High School, Sean Askinosi. Thanks to each of you. After today's ceremony, 27 members will exist in the Springfield Public Schools Hall of Fame, and they are all outstanding. SPS is fortunate to have such an outstanding legacy in our alumni. We're so grateful to have several current SPS students here today also. I have no doubt that they will be inspired by our inductees' stories. Current students are here as special guests, as ushers, as musicians, and escorts for our inductees. If you're a current SPS student in attendance today, please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to see what you do and hope one of you or many of you will be coming across this stage years from now. I'd also like to recognize our school board. The work of these 7 volunteers directly impacts our students and our community. Board members, please stand. I know not all are here, but I want to recognize each one. Please stand as I call your name. President, Mrs. Jill Patterson. Vice President, Mr. Tim Rosenberry. Dr. Denise Frederick, Mr. Jerry Lee, Dr. Alina Leonard, Mr. Bruce Renner, and Dr. Charles Taylor. Please give them a hand. I would also like to recognize the individuals who served on the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for their time and their effort in selecting the inductees for the class of 2018. You did a fabulous job. Please stand if you're a member of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I see several out there. Thank you very much. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to each of you in attendance today. Your presence reflects the support our community has for our students. And as we serve 25,000 kids in Springfield Public Schools every day, we need a united community behind our public education system. So thank you for being here and your continued support. Give yourselves a hand. So in addition to today's ceremony, Springfield Public Schools Hall of Fame inductees will be recognized through a plaque dedication, and those plaques will be proudly displayed on the walls of Central, Kickapoo, and Glendale high schools. An additional plaque with their names will also be displayed at Kraft Administrative Center. Now, the moment we've been anticipating. For those of you who have had the privilege of knowing our inductees, this portion of our program will be a reminder of how the person you know successfully turned their passion into purpose. For those who don't know them, you will learn how determination at a young age led to lives of integrity. All of us will enjoy learning more about them and no doubt leave here inspired today. Our first recognition is a posthumous honor for inductee Homer Boyd, who was a 1951 Lincoln High School graduate. While in school, he was a standout baseball and basketball player, as well as drum major. His musical talents became known nationwide when he joined the Philharmonics, a Springfield music group, which had the distinction of being the first African-American performers to appear on Ozark Jubilee. Join me in watching this video highlighting Homer's life through interviews with those who knew him personally and professionally.
We started in the late 40s and we went through almost to the 60s. We worked as hard as we could. It was not an easy thing, although I loved music, and Homer did too. He loved it too.
He was one of the Philharmonics, and my dad was one of the Philharmonics, so I knew Homer all my life. He really knew me before I knew him. You know, everyone was his friend. I mean, he was just a friendly, welcoming person. That's what I remember him, even as a little girl.
I came from a family of 9, and I can truly say that Uncle Homer was our favorite uncle. And we had a lot of uncles. He was that nickname they gave him, Jolly, very jolly person. And he just, loved to be with people, loved people. Uncle Homer, when we was growing up, if we in the car, riding with him or whatever, he was always singing to us. He always loved to talk about his past. He was actually still in high school when he joined them.
Homer and I, we became so close because most of the time when we were traveling, we had to do the night driving. We talked quite a bit. We sang. We did everything, trying to stay awake.
I used to love to hear their music. They sang in church, but they also sang all over the United States. And I remember as a little girl, we had a TV, and I would see them perform on the Ozark Jubilee.
It was exciting to be on the Ozark Jubilee and to be on a network. It was exciting, and a lot of people got to know us, got to see us.
Even over the years before he moved back, he was here every year for Park Day. And he would just always want to do things that was better for the community, which was really good. Anyone that need help or some guidance, he was there.
Homer was sincere about anything. He liked people. He was a friend to most everybody.
You couldn't be around him and not smile, because he just glowed with that. His whole life, I remember that my whole life of Homer.
He would like the people to remember him as being a veteran and a baseball player.
But he always said, I'm going home one of these days. That was his favorite line. I'm going to be home. And he made it back. And he had a lot of good quality years here in Springfield.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to share with you a few reflections about my best friend's husband, Homer Jolly Boyd, who was also my friend and fellow church member. I really don't have anything to say because everything has been said that I was going to. The nickname Jolly was perfect for Homer because it was absolutely impossible to be in his presence and not be happy. He had an infectious smile and the ability to quickly put everyone at ease. Prior to the desegregation of the Springfield Public Schools, African American students attended Lincoln School grades 1 through 12. While attending Lincoln, he was a member of the school's marching band and was its dashing drum major, and you just saw a photo of that. He successfully embraced everything that Lincoln offered, completing high school in 1951. Homer attended Gibson Chapel Presbyterian Church as a high school student and became a member on June 15, 1952. His love of music, his genuine talent, and great personality made him a shoo-in to become the youngest member of the Philharmonics. Although the group faced many racial barriers, they experienced successful national exposure. Their accomplishments gave hope and filled the Springfield African American community with a sense of pride. Homer proudly served his country as a member of the U.S. Army. Following his discharge, he married the love of his life and they moved to Minnesota. Retiring in 1995, the Boyds returned home. Homer worked beside Betty as they tirelessly volunteered at church and on projects that benefited the community at large. Homer was an honorable man. He never met a stranger. After visiting with you for a few minutes, he became your friend. Although he grew up during an era of segregation, he did not allow it to prevent him from respecting all humanity. He looked for and found goodness in everyone, although sometimes he had to dig a little deep to find it. He was always willing to lend a helping hand without being asked to do so. He was a devoted husband, which was demonstrated by his loving devotion to his wife as her health declined. Homer Jolly Boyd was a true gentleman, outstanding performer, and a loyal friend to all who knew him. Homer's nephew, James Boyd, will be accepting the award on behalf of the Boyd family. Please welcome him to the stage, accompanied by William Hudson from Central High School.
very excited today. Let everybody know that. Okay, well, good afternoon to the Springfield Public School District, friends, family, and honor inductees, all the other inductees. My name is James Boyd, also known as Sweet Pea. A few folks found out that's a name that I picked up a long time ago. Hear anyone call me that, you know they are friend, family, or someone close. And what I did, I went around to a few family members and talked to them and say, you know, this is all our uncle. And I wanted them to share some of the things, what they felt about Homer Jolly Boyd. My oldest brother, Lawrence, we also call him Fuzzy. We had a bunch of nicknames in our family. We came from a family of 9 children. And Fuzzy, he always say he's very honored to be a part and receive this Hall of Fame induction for Uncle Homer. He said his wonderful uncle. And he said Uncle Homer was like more a brother to him because my brother was the first born grandson, so he was kind of spoiled back in the day. And some of the things Uncle Homer would do would take him around, take him to the barbershop, take him to some of his rehearsals and all that. And he would just stay so excited. And he was on the Homer high until we left. We would come down as a family every summer and go to camp here in Springfield. So it was pretty exciting. So Uncle Homer took him under his wings, and Homer treated him like a little brother. Like I said, he took him camping and fishing. One of the most favorite outings was the barbershop. And if I don't know about barbershops now, because don't have as much hair, don't go as many times as I used to. But barbershops used to be like a meeting place. And you get a chance to hear all the stories, all the gossip. And so it was very enjoyable. And so, the thing about it, Homer will always take time out and teach you about God and church, and he always stuck that to us when we was children. So, we grew up knowing about God and the meaning of praising and being a part of it. And Fuzzy said he knows that Uncle Homer is looking down on us today, which is a good thing. And then I have a cousin, one of my favorite cousins. I don't know if I should say that here. Colleen. Colleen, we talk a lot, and I know the passing when Uncle Homer passed away. We took it pretty tough. I think we were 2 that talked to him on a regular basis, and we shared a lot of different things. One of the things she shared with me, Homer was like a father to her after her father had passed, and I felt the same way. My dad had passed back in 2010, and Homer just jumped right in there and filled in. And he was one that would talk to Colleen when she's down. He would notice if something was different in you. That's the type of person he was. Back in 2014, I came down with stage 4 cancer, and he would call me almost every day. And he called us all Sweetie. That was one of the biggest nicknames. Everybody was Sweetie, whether you were a male or female. He said, Sweetie, how you doing today? I said, I'm doing great. So we love that encouragement. And then I have another brother, Michael. He's sitting over there. And he said one of the things that he enjoyed most when we would take trips up to Minnesota, he would love the home of Homer and Betty. Betty she collected different ornaments and whatnots, and they just had a beautiful home up there. And Homer would always take us around town, let us know all about Minneapolis, which was good. And he had nieces and nephews there that he treat the same way. I talked to one of my cousins up in Minneapolis, Joey, and he said, you know, he'd be playing basketball. The next thing you look up, there's Homer and Betty watching the game. So Homer was truly an uncle. Not only just an uncle, he was a friend. And almost every friend of yours was also his niece and nephew. And then my sister Darlene is here today. And she remembered during a visit that he talked about life as a singer. She's a singer too. And knowing how to receive the genes of singing through the family. We have a few singers. I just didn't get that gene. And but he gave her pointers about giving the best, something that you love, and also giving love to God. And then, gotta excuse me, I have a lot of personal memories with Uncle Homer. We both have a serious love of cars. And he always made time for, like I said, friends and family. We used to bring, when we come down to Springfield for Park Day, we used to bring an entourage. And the other kids used to say, well, what do we call you, Uncle Homer? I said, Uncle Homer. So he was just everyone's uncle. He would allow us to pull him to the side. He never tell us no, which was fantastic. And he used to sit there and talk to us for hours. And once I can remember once we were riding, my dad, we had spent the summer down here. My dad came, picked us up, and we were just talking in the car, heading back up to Kansas City. That's where I originally lived. And my dad said, he said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was about 6 years old at the time. I said, I want to be Uncle Homer. Yeah. So he was a great influence on us. He, you know, you always see him work hard. You know, he played hard. He would meet us no matter where we at. I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in Wichita. And I guess Uncle Homer went down to Texas. And he was on his way back up to Minnesota. And he remembered that I was stationed at McConnell Air Force Base. But, you know, during this time, they didn't have no cell phones like that to get a hold of you. But he got up to the gate, and he talked to enough people to find out where I worked at, and he came and visited me, and I just thought that was a wonderful thing. So he was a good investigator, too. And, you know, it just so exciting and so much fun. You know, he and I would get on the phone, talk 2 or 3 hours a day sometime. And at the time, right before his passing, we were working on a family tree. And that was so much fun because he had so much knowledge. And if you want to really kind of hear some of his knowledge, I invite you to Google his name or YouTube him and listen to some of his talks, and you'll see how much he loved life, how much he loved his family, and how much he loved Springfield. Thank you.
James, thank you so much for your remarks. And I know as we got a chance to visit about Homer last night, I hope I can call you Sweet Pea also. Feel free. There we go. Thank you to your family. One more round of applause for the honor of Homer as an alum and a new Hall of Fame member. The next individual being recognized is Miss Kim Crosby, Kickapoo High School, class of 1978. Kim was 5 years old when she sang in her first musical at Springfield Little Theater, and the rest is history, as they say. Those early experiences, combined with her time as a member of the KHS speech debate team and choir, put her on the road to a bigger stage located in New York City. She describes her time in the Broadway production of Into the Woods as the professional and personal highlight of her career. Although the stages may have changed over the years, her love for what she does has not. Those who know Kim and her work on and off the stage share their thoughts in the following video.
The first time I met Kim Crosby was in 1978. She was an icon already at that age, and she was in high school. She was a total icon. Everybody looked up to her.
First met Kim when she started in our debate class at Kickapoo High School. And my first impression of Kim was this is a girl who is very confident in herself. Kim walked in and had a poise that ordinarily do not see out of high school kids when she first started.
I met Kim when she was a very young girl, back about 1966. Kim is a very special professional actor who basically gives her all, both on stage and off stage. She's very giving.
She's very funny. Most people, I don't know if most people know that. She's hysterical, actually. She's just kind. She's just good peeps. She was competing for Junior Miss America, and we were having auditions. So everybody was on the, we were auditioning on the 4th floor, but we kept running down to the 3rd floor because that's where the TV was while she was doing this. And we were all sitting down there when she was singing in my own little corner from Cinderella, screaming, of course. We're all screaming. And then she won, and we just went crazy.
She's very giving, and every time I've been able to work with her professionally, or the times that I have been with her informally on a social level, she is, you know what you get at the moment she walks into the room. I've been fortunate enough to travel to New York quite frequently, and so I saw her in her first Broadway show. She was so excited to have Springfieldians coming in to see her, old friends. She was playing a character role and got very good reviews.
Kim was one who went out and said, here's what I'm going to try to do, and I'm going to set my mind to it, and if I get it, I don't. If I don't, at least everybody know that I tried. So I was not surprised a bit when she was America's Junior Miss. I wasn't surprised when she did well. The world's an oyster, and you're the girl that's going to open it up and get whatever pearls you want because she's that good.
Kim is a very honest individual, both in person and on stage, and the audiences appreciate that, and they realize that what you see is Kim Crosby.
Icon is another, and she doesn't even know it. That's really, and that is the beauty of Kim Crosby. She has no idea what she brings to this community and how lucky we are to have her.
Good afternoon. I am Cheryl Miller, and I get to introduce our icon of this afternoon. And I would like to explain when I first met Kim, I had worked with her mother and father, Don and Donna. Donna through every arts organization on every committee to support the arts that you could possibly find. And Don, who was performing and singing at Landers Theater, and I got to choreograph for him, and that's another story at another time. But they had this daughter that was kind of interested in theater. And would I give them some suggestions? And after I saw this beautiful smile, and this flash in an eye and a tilt in her walk, which has been said earlier today, my suggestion was get out of her way, watch her, and enjoy. And thus, that's what she did. And she has gone on to be America's Junior Miss, which we've already talked about. And I think a funny story about that I got from actually someone important, stated that after the parade and after the fun time with the Junior Miss and Cherokee Junior High School wanted her to come back in and be celebrated, she was escorted by the student body president at that time by a fairly unknown person named Brad Pitt, and he got to bring her in. Her career is far better at that point than Brad Pitt's today. We won't talk about that. Anyway, so she went on through America's Junior Miss. She also got to sing for the Fred Waring Young Pennsylvanians and had a blast, and then she headed to New York, and I also, like Lou, which was wonderful. We all made trips to New York to see what she was doing next. Got to see her in Jerry's Girls and Guys and Dolls as she went through, and then, the unknown, unrealized Into the Woods, which was nothing really big except with Mr. Stephen Sondheim, and possibly the most important thing that could have happened, that every girl wants to be Cinderella. Every woman in here wants that to happen, and she created the role, and even better, fell in love with her Prince Charming, and wound up bringing him back to Springfield, and we all get to enjoy both of those beautiful, outstanding talents and are very grateful for that time period while they raised their great children. Kim has come back to us, which I'm very happy for, and she has performed on every possible arts venue in Springfield, Missouri, and we appreciate that talent so much because with someone with the artistry that she has, which is unassuming, she has no idea, as Beth said, what she brings to us. When she enters a room, raises the bar of excellence to the other performers greater than anything I've ever seen. And I had the opportunity to help choreograph and direct SLT's Into the Woods just recently, and Kim took the role of the baker's wife. And a young girl by the name of Ashley Rose was the Cinderella character. And here you are in the room with the woman that created the role, and you're now supposed to do your best. And every night I sat and watched Kim Crosby stand at the side of the room with a smile on her face and a glint in her eye, encouraging that young girl every night as to that was wonderful, what a great choice you made, that was something that I appreciated tonight. And this young woman went on stage next to Kim Crosby and celebrated. What a wonderful experience for her. And this is just what Kim does over and over again. She is always encouraging. She is always trying to give her best to the artistry of the actors that she's with. And that's difficult. And this was said earlier today in conversation. There's a lot of performers out there that know that they are good. I'm stealing this from you. There's a lot of performers that know that they are good, and they tell you about it every single day. And then there are people that are great artists that don't have to say a word. They just know. They just are, and that's our Kim, which I'm so very happy to have enjoyed my time with her. And now then, I get to be on a committee with her that we are working with, and she is a hoot. She is an absolute hysterical woman that we've had a wonderful time with. She's very giving. She doesn't know her talent. She doesn't even expect people to come to her and be gracious. She enters the room. I have swept floors with the woman. I have cleaned up wine messes with the woman. I have cleaned up in the theater with her, and yet she is Kim Crosby. So as we get ready to bring her to the stage, once again, this is an example. The lady that is presenting her, Rachel Harvey, is going to be playing Cinderella in Kickapoo's version of Into the Woods. And so we pass along one beautiful Cinderella. Lady, get ready, because she's the golden touch. If you have Kim Crosby by your side, there you are. I could not say more of her, and I am just glad that she has made full circle back to her beginnings in Kickapoo, to stardom, to come back to Kickapoo and Springfield. We love having her here. Rachel, would you like to bring Miss Kim Crosby to the stage, please? Thank you.
Would you do this first? Oh, do this first. Isn't she adorable? Thank you.
I'm sorry, you have to stand there while I'm doing this. How are you? Cheryl, that was lovely. Thank you so much. And I'm sure that the memory was a fond one for Brad as well. You know, I ran into his mother, Jane, at Nearly Famous Delicatessen some years ago, and she even mentioned it again, and I thought, well, so he must have talked about that, so I was really pleased that it was a good memory for him, too. First of all, I can't begin to express my appreciation in being honored here today. I am genuinely humbled to be inducted into the Springfield Public Schools Hall of Fame, along with these two distinguished gentlemen. For my living, I've spent countless hours in front of people, and many people very often, but I am most generally inhabiting a character when I'm doing it, or singing words and music that someone else has written, and I'm in this nice little bubble when I do it. So I'm rarely called upon to talk about myself in public. I certainly never seek out occasions to do so, so this is kind of a sweet torture for me. I will never forget when I and my fellow students were asked in one of our early exercises in Jack Tuckness's Speech 1 class to simply stand up and state our name and home address and phone number. You know, it seemed like a simple thing to do, right? It's something anybody could easily conjure up, but you can't imagine how unnerving it was. And I think we all were sweating it. But dear Mr. Tuckness, who insists that I now call him Jack after all these years, but he's still Mr. Tuckness to me, in his wisdom, he knew to start us off with little baby steps, and he carefully nurtured all of our confidence. Being asked to talk about my experiences growing up in Springfield Public Schools is a little bit daunting. I can't possibly recount everything, and nobody really wants me to do that, but I can recount what it meant to me to be brought up in this community and by the many tremendous teachers and counselors that guided me along my way. And many years ago, my husband and I were looking to move our young family out of New York, the New York City area, and not entirely because our 3-year-old son came home from preschool one day around Christmas time saying he couldn't wait for Santa Claus. So Robert suggested that we move to Springfield. He was looking for a change in his career, and I wanted to be closer to my family. He, of course, had been here many times on family vacations and always loved the community and the people here. It was the best decision we ever made. Our children have thrived here, and we had the option to buy any home in any high school district that we chose, but neither of our daughters had any interest in following in my footsteps by attending Cherokee Middle School or Kickapoo High School. Although my oldest did say a few years later, "OMG, the boys at Kickapoo are so cute." Experiencing Springfield Public Schools again as a parent this time made me appreciate in ways I couldn't possibly appreciate in my youthful ignorance this school system and everything that it offers. Now, looking back, there are so many opportunities to experience nearly every interest that I could imagine. Now, personally, I always gravitated toward the performing arts. As it happened for all of us students, once our patient and inspired elementary school teachers graduated us to middle school, our worlds began to open. Now, my interests, of course, happened to be in music, speech, and drama. And I felt that once I hit high school, there was ample opportunity for me to explore what I hoped were emerging talents in me. It is not uncommon, unfortunately, that performing arts are often relegated to extracurricular activities instead of being an integral part of the day-to-day, as it was for me and continues to be for SPS students, and it's so awesome. I even played the violin in orchestra my freshman year with dear Mr. Pratt at the podium. Now, freshman string players require a lot of patience, but God bless him, he persevered through our attempts to make music. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, I think, because my skills in this realm were not immense, a choir conflicted with orchestra, and my sophomore year, I jumped into my very happy association with our choir teacher, Carol Burgess. I and others like myself who loved to sing considered her a second mom, and she took a loving interest in all of us. I sang in everything and everywhere I possibly could, every choir, every music festival, every special occasion. Her choir room was my happy place throughout high school. I was able to see her on a few occasions before her passing, shortly after I moved back to Springfield. I will never forget her spirit and will forever be grateful to her for introducing me to the Fred Waring summer music workshops where she had attended the teachers' clinics for many years. She and her son Don Henderson and I, and my late dear friends Susan Cardwell and Tim Osborne, participated in the student workshops the summer of our junior year. I would later tour with Fred Waring and his young Pennsylvanians, my first professional job, forever cementing my love for choral singing, and it all started with her. Another happy place for me was speech and debate class. Mr. Tuckness, as I said, gently coaxed the nerves out of all of us and helped us find our voices. Now, I never excelled in debate, but found some success in oratorical speaking and dramatic interpretation. I even won the Springfield Optimist Oratorical Society competition one year that Mr. Tuckness had urged me to enter. I did not win at the state level, but I felt I had come a long way from my unnerving first attempts at public speaking, so thank you for that, Mr. Tuckness. Jack. Okay. Still feels weird. Okay. Another testament to public school expanding my world, which I never could have anticipated, was running on the varsity track team. Yes, me on the varsity track team. Okay. No, the first, quite sensibly, Coach Brenda Goodwin put me on the team as an alternate. But on one of the first out-of-town meets of the season, a first stringer was out of the 880, and I filled in. Now, miraculously, I finished first in my heat, and I was bumped up into the order after that. Now, being on stage, I think, is nerve-wracking enough, and I obviously learned to quail those fears while performing. But the moments just before the starting pistol went off, I just wanted to throw up. I did. I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but it was, I was undone. And it should have been a sure sign that that was definitely not my calling, even though I wound up placing second in the all-city meet. So I was always very proud of that, and I lettered, so that was really astounding. Now, one thing I learned from my brief career on the track team is really to appreciate the people who did it very, very well, and to have grace and speed and skill under all that pressure, and that's true of all disciplines, and mine, I just happen to be a fine arts kid. I can imagine that one of the most gratifying things to witness as a teacher is a student's skill emerging and thriving through his or her guidance. I grew up with so many intelligent kids who had gone on to great careers in their various fields, having enjoyed the same mentoring in their chosen interests as I did. God bless you, teachers. God bless you, teachers. God bless you, teachers. No other year in school, of course, could top 1978 for me. And in the fall of my senior year, I competed in and won the Tri-County Junior Miss pageant. I don't think it hurt that the pageant was held on the Landers Theater stage, where I had performed so many times over the years. It was like a second home, and I think it definitely gave me an advantage. I went on to win the Missouri's Junior Miss title and subsequently America's Junior Miss for 1978. My homecoming assembly at Kickapoo High School was something I will never forget. I know I have friends here today who were there. And I've never seen such an outpouring of love and support as I did that day. I brought one home for the team, I felt like. And I don't think anyone enjoyed my winning more than our principal, Curtis Wilkerson. Many of you may remember him. He was every bit as proud as my family was. And it reflected well upon Kickapoo High School. It truly was a team effort that got me there, I'm certain of it. My family, first and foremost, and my teachers and my community that gave me that firm foundation on which to stand. I was just a reflection of all of you. I have to be honest, as much success and friendship as I enjoyed in school and the very positive impact that it had on me, I don't know who I might have turned out to be in this day and age. It's not that I think I and my contemporaries grew up in a simpler and more innocent time. I just know that we did. Our children face a lot of pressures from many different directions than we did. I had my share of embarrassing moments growing up, and plenty of them. I wish I could take some of them back, and I will not share them with you today as I want to preserve your good opinion of me today. But my upbringing was typical in that sense. But those moments were not shared with the world, as so many of our children's can be, and there are some who use those moments unkindly. But there are so many ways to communicate. I get it all. I understand Facebook. I think it's wonderful when you can control your own narrative and have photo approval, which I really wish I had had in my day. But just as much as the internet and social media enlarges our world, it tends to isolate us too. And I personally only go on Facebook if I absolutely have to. And if you ever look me up on Facebook, I'm one of those creepy little female cutout heads. I just don't really participate in that, but I'm impressed by it all the same. And I love my cell phone just as much as anybody else. But that too, as marvelous as it is, isolates us even more as it expands our world at the same time. If I had to give any advice to school kids now, or let's be honest, all of us, it's not to trade that connectivity to this connectivity. Those moments when we actually look each other in the eyes. And that's the good stuff. Since moving back to Springfield, I've had many joys reconnecting with old friends. I and many of my fellow graduates from the class of 78 just celebrated our 40th reunion, and everybody looked great, I thought. But that's one thing you can't hide from anyone in your hometown is your age. And I work in an industry that where we try desperately not to look our age, so it's a relief to be back among people who know me and know my age and like me just the same. I've lost several of my close friends too, and since I've moved back, my father, and last year my older brother Chris, and earlier this year my mom. I've been so grateful to be home, to be near my family, and to have my children near them too. As is the case with all of us, with every loss, the living are compelled to make an account of the lives of the loved ones who've passed. One cannot help at those times but to make an account of one's own life thus far. I am filled with gratitude today. I hope and intend to try to live the rest of my life having been worthy of the honor you give me today. So thank you very much.
Kim, thank you so much for those words, and I don't know about you, but I'm inspired to watch the marquee or the playbills in our community, and if you're on stage, let's all buy a ticket. It's going to be a great performance. Kim Crosby, please. The final Hall of Fame inductee in 1975 Glendale High School graduate, Dr. Tom Prater. Gotta love this picture. The virtues of being actively involved in his community and giving back to those in need was instilled in Tom at a young age by his mother. Tom can be characterized as a giver. As an eye surgeon, he gives sight to his patients, and as his own two councilmen, he gives a voice to his constituents. Tom believes if he is going to live and work in this community, he is obligated to help improve it. Please direct your attention once again to the screens to view a highlight video of Tom's accomplishments.
Tom and I have been friends for a long time. I think I did the math. It was 55 years. We started out together in grade school, first grade, went to high school together. We even went to college together. We were roommates. One thing I really admire and respect about Tom is that, he sacrificed a lot becoming a very respected and successful doctor here in town.
I met Tom Prater when I was at Glendale High School. He was an Eagle Scout and an assistant scoutmaster at Glendale, and I was a tenderfoot. Tom Prater is a guy who has served our community for decades, and really since he was a young man. And in all of those years, I have always been impressed with the degree of humility with which he serves and leads.
I was his journalism teacher, and I first met Tom when he raised his hand in class after I had asked, is anyone interested in photography? Tom very quietly and timidly raised his hand, and I said, and what's your name, dear? And he said, Tom Prater. And I thought, he'll never be able to get anyone's picture. He can't speak loud enough or be aggressive enough to even get them lined up. Well, I was 100% wrong. It's been fascinating to watch Tom throughout his life. It was obvious from the beginning of his career at Glendale that he was destined to be more than just your average citizen.
I think that Tom's motto or philosophy about life is go all in. Whether it's in high school and he wanted to get into photography, well, he became a fantastic photographer. He decided that he was going to give back to Springfield and the school system, and he went all in, developed leadership positions in almost all of these, and gave back.
I don't think you'll find much better example of a student that was educated in the public education system than Tom. So that's how I've seen Tom for a long time.
And the reason I say I'm impressed with it is because Tom has led so many efforts in our community and in the surrounding communities. He leads with very little fanfare. He doesn't seek credit for himself. And this, in my view, is really a true leader and a role model for others to look up to. He's done this year after year, decade after decade, not seeking attention for his work or his contribution. It's really quite impressive.
I have a framed text on my desk that says this: successful is the person who has lived well, who has gained the respect of children, who leaves the world better than they found it, who has never lacked appreciation for the earth's beauty, and who never fails to look for the best in others or give the best of themselves. By this definition, Tom Prater is successful. Throw in that he can perform LASIK surgery, and you've got a real winner. I've had the privilege to know Tom for about 40 years. He is obviously a product of our public school system, as is his daughters as well, very successful. And he credits his English teacher, Ruth Cunningham, on having such an influence on his life and career. She taught me how to write, he said, but more importantly, she taught me how to think. Tom was a leader in high school, and he's continued that leadership from then on. He was chairman of our board, he was on the chamber board, and he was on the school board, and now, as you know, serves on city council. He is an outstanding professional, a loving and supportive family man, and a selfless community servant. I also have the honor to call him friend. In short, he personifies success. Please welcome our last inductee to the 2018 Hall of Fame, Thomas G. King Prater, escorted by Glendale High School student Hallie Robbins.
Wow. I tell you, when I was part of a group that helped start this event 10 years ago, I had no idea that I would be standing here as a recipient later on. And I had no idea one of Johnny's bears would be over my shoulder. And then to share the stage with the Boyds and with Kim, it's a very special privilege. Tad, Sean, Patricia, thank you, and Brian, thank you for what you had to say, and thanks for leaving out some of the really dumb stuff that you could have remembered. My path through Springfield Public Schools was educational. It was fun. It was rewarding. I went through Wilder, through Pershing, and through Glendale. Tad and I have been involved, obviously, forever. We got to high school, and he was the star athlete playing football and basketball, and they put me in the swimming pool to keep me out of the way, so I was the swimmer. The first day, as Patricia Allen said in the video, I walked into her journalism 1 class, and she said, we don't have a photographer, and who's going to do this? Well, there my hand went, and I didn't really expect that would lead to 2 years of doing all the photography for the newspaper and the yearbook. But I was so impressed with myself that I went to the current editor of the newspaper at that time. We had two papers then. And I said, here's why I think you should hire me as a summer intern, and showed my portfolio and was very impressed. And he looked at it and he said, yeah, this is fine. But I thought you were going to go to medical school. Well, you know, I might want to be a photographer instead. He looked at my portfolio once more and said, go to medical school. So 40 years later, I reminded him of his judgment as I was doing his cataract surgery. Sean, thank you, and thanks for remembering your short tenure as a Boy Scout, my long tenure as a Boy Scout, and fast forward that a few decades, and Sean asked me to help him start a phenomenal program that he runs called Cocoa Honors, taking high school kids to Tanzania, working in the village where he buys cocoa beans, and I was fortunate to chaperone is kind of a silly word, to go along for the ride on 4 of those trips, and that was very impressive. So I was putting together some other experiences, and I thought, my gosh, this is boring me to tears. It's really going to bore you guys. So I decided instead just to have a few lessons to share with the high school kids, with Hallie and with the other high school students. Call them Words to Live By, or Mr. Rogers for Grown-Ups. How's that? You know, giving advice at home to your wife and your children can be kind of perilous, but you guys have to listen because you got a free lunch out of the deal. So my first tip is to surround yourself with the smartest people you know. If you're the brightest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, or you're delusional. I've been fortunate, as Brian mentioned, to be in leadership roles in organizations where we hired Brian Fogel to be the CFO board. We hired John Jungman to run our school district. Most recently hired Jason Gage to be the city manager, and on the board of jury when we brought Tim Cloyd in from Conway, Arkansas. These people are the subject matter experts that you need to listen to, and I've learned far more listening to them than I have talking at them. So keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and you'll gain a lot. I also work with a group of 9 very talented doctors. I can't tell you how many times one of us has said to the other, you really weren't thinking about doing it that way, were you? Having that ability to bounce ideas off of your professional colleagues, I couldn't have done this in a group practice. And we started Maddox New Prater Eye Center almost 20 years ago this coming April. And I think we've been able to deliver quality, compassionate care to thousands of people around the Ozarks, and that's very rewarding. My experienced staff, many of them tolerated me for years. They take care of my patients. They let me give me the time to communicate with my patients, interact with my patients, and that's what makes going to work fun. And they run my life if I just let them and I stay out of the way, and that's another good lesson to impart. Second thought is to keep in mind is do the best job you can the right way and have fun doing it. We've all seen the lifestyle rewards and the financial remuneration will follow. Yeah, remuneration will follow if you do that. We've all seen what happens when people try and cut corners to make a simple buck. That's not sustainable. It catches up with you in the long run. And I think these values were instilled during my time at SPS and at home too. Practicing medicine with my father for 7 years before he retired really helped cement that ability to deliver quality care and do the right thing for people. And that was a lot of fun. It's about values. You have your values in you already. Adhere to these values. They take priority over the dollars. And finally, make a difference where you live. Now, some of you will end up living back in Springfield. Some of you will find some exotic place somewhere else around the world. to call home. But no matter where you live, it will be your home. Make it your home. It was never on my bucket list to run for city council, but I saw a need arise. I felt like I was prepared to fit in, and I had the opportunity to do so. And for me, it was looking as a way to give back and to help our community. Financially support your favorite not-for-profit Foundation for Springfield Public Schools, or another one of your choice. Do it with your time, with your dollars. Tutor, mentor, and donate, because there are places and people who need you and who may not have had the opportunities you've had at SPS to get to where you are today. So keep that in mind too. Run for elected office. My mother was the first one to tell me, of course you should, when I mentioned a school board run. As Brian mentioned, it was second nature to her after years of community service that this is what you owed your community. You needed to give back. And she was Humanitarian of the Year in 2007. So through these activities, you're going to set an example then for those who follow you. You pay it forward. And special thanks and appreciation, and this is a good lesson to learn, to my wife, Kim. You know, appreciate your spouse. We weren't coming back to Springfield, and she's the one that said, well, yeah, we need to go to Springfield. I said, no, I grew up there. 18 years, I'm ready to get out. And she said, but look at all the fun we have when we go back, and look at the job opportunities we have in Springfield, and this is what we need to do. She's the one who lets me include an hour and a half Tuesday night at a school board meeting on date night. She kind of directs me with a gentle nudge and sometimes a forceful push, but she keeps me grounded. I was the one who, don't forget to put the trash out today before we came over here. So after 31 years, she almost has me trained. Thanks, son. So a few simple lessons. Keep in mind, you'll use these throughout the rest of your life. It's exciting for us on this side of life to look at you students and ask where you're going. Hallie's going to MSU next year. Ask what you're going to do next, because we do pay attention. We watch, and we're excited for your careers. Thanks again for this honor. It's humbling to be up here in the present company and the past company of the people who've received this award, and I greatly appreciate it.
Dr. Prater, thank you so much for your words. And he did share that he was on the board that hired me. He forgot to share that he immediately left that board with, I think he had no desire to be held accountable for that decision. So appreciate you bringing me to Springfield, but most importantly, appreciate your role model for these kids in this community and your service to our kids. So one more time, Dr. Tom Prater. As we begin to wrap up, one last group that I would like to take 1 second to recognize, and I think it's only fitting, as we heard from all the honorees, of the impact that educators and the people that work in our schools make on behalf of our kids in our community. We serve 25,000 kids in Springfield Public Schools, but we do that with the help of 4,000 employees that come to school every day in whatever position, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be in the cafeteria, driving our buses, or leading as a principal or administrator with one thing in mind, and that's the future of our kids. So if you're a Springfield Public School employee, please stand up and let's give you a round of applause for serving our kids. Thank you so much for attending our 9th annual SPS Hall of Fame Awards Luncheon to celebrate these outstanding Springfield Public Schools graduates. These people are a testament to the system and the community that we embrace every day. One more hand for our 3 inductees. Sponsors, thank you one more time for your support. And a special thanks to our presenting sponsor, 417 Magazine, Foundation for Springfield Public Schools, Maddox New Prater, Esterly Schneider and Associates, Community Foundation of the Ozarks, Positronic, and Ozarks Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper Bottling Company, and AdSmith Marketing and KY3, who helped produce these wonderful highlight videos for our inductees. Finally, I'd like to remind you to watch next April for information on how you can help determine the next class of Springfield Public Schools Hall of Fame. Thank you for coming, and have a great afternoon.